Financial Services Subcommittee, Mr. Quigley.
The gentleman from Illinois is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, your point is well taken. I'll address my remarks to you. Mr. Chairman, the arguments we have heard tonight remind us of the tale full of sound and fury, signifying nothing, reminding us who told us that tale. Every border chief, since the border chief under President Reagan, has said a wall will deter a crosser by somewhere between 90 seconds and 3 minutes. $5 billion for that. If you really want to protect our country, and that's what you're so bent on doing and spending $5 billion, my subcommittee can help you. In January of 2017, with a high degree of certainty, the entire intelligence community said the Russians attacked our democratic process. We are not prepared for their next attack. DNI Coates has warned that the lights are flashing red. We spent $180 million on election security in 2018. Nothing since then. 40 states do not even have sufficient equipment to put on software that blocks this hacking. 13 states don't even have a paper trail. The last time our democratic process was called into question in such matters was during Bush-Gore, where this very body spent $3.5 billion to protect its integrity. We must do better. By the way, you have control of the House and Senate. You don't need to yell at us, folks. You can yell at your own caucus. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New York reserves. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
I reserve the right to close.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
Democrats support strong, smart border security, but we will not allow Republicans to fleece American taxpayers by making them pay $5.7 billion for Trump's ineffective wall. And I want to remind my friends that 88% of opioids seized come through the port of entry. Let's get the facts on the table. I will save my other comments, including praising Chairman Frelinghuysen for his distinguished career in public service, for the debates on a bill that has an actual chance at becoming law. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The balance of her time. The gentleman from New Jersey.
Mr. Chairman, I urge members to vote yes on the bill to keep the government open until February 8th to support critical border security, which is badly needed, and to look after the needs of so many Americans that have suffered from so many disasters over this past year. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back the balance of his time. All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 1183, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the motion by the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Frelinghuysen. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to without...
I ask for the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, this 15-minute vote on the motion will be followed by a 5-minute vote on the motion to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 6602 if ordered. This is a 15-minute vote. On this vote, the ayes are 217 and the nays are 185. The motion is adopted without objection. A motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The unfinished business is on the question on suspending the rules and passing H.R. 6602, which the clerk will report by title.
Union Calendar number 827, H.R. 6602, a bill to reauthorize the New Jersey Coastal Heritage Trail Route and for other purposes.
The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill? So many as are in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended.
Mr. Speaker.
For what objection does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I request a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their vote by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The chair lays before the House an enrolled bill.
Senate 756, an act to reauthorize and amend the Marine Debris Act to promote international action to reduce marine debris and for other purposes.
The House will be in order. The chair will now entertain requests for 1-minute speeches. For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute. And we'll suspend. House will be in order. Please take your conversations out of the aisle, off the floor. Gentleman is recognized. Go on some more. The House will be in order. Please take your colleagues and your conversations off the floor. Gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, as we approach the holidays, I wanted to take a moment to talk about a difficult subject, suicide. Suicide is epidemic in our nation. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is currently the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, ending 48,000 lives in 2017. For those who are suffering, you need to know you are not alone, and there are many who care about you.
Gentleman, the House is not in order. The House is not in order. Please take your conversations out of the well and out of the aisles. The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I wanted to raise the difficult issue of suicide. For those who are suffering, you need to know you are not alone, and there are many who care about you. There is hope for healing. Every person was created for a purpose, though it may be difficult at times for a person to find that purpose. One of the most basic and often most effective ways to help prevent suicide is to ensure that our loved ones, friends, colleagues, and anyone else in our lives feels connected and has a sense of belonging. There is great virtue in reaching out to the marginalized and neglected, especially young people who may be lonely or bullied. For those who are despondent and having suicidal thoughts, services like the National Suicide Prevention Hotline are vital. The hotline is a free support service available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-TALK. As we enter the season of hope, let those who are hopeless encounter the encouragement that everyone needs. I thank the Speaker, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Texas seek recognition? The gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, during this holiday season, I'm baffled as to why and how we have gotten here to this place. In the last 24 hours, a tweet went out from the White House that would end the Syrian war to the opposition of the National Security Team, General Mathis, the Secretary of State, the National Security Advisor, and others that thought that a tweet and ending the war was never heard of in the history of the United States. In the course of these 24 hours, we're in the midst of a political collapse, a catastrophic collapse, and a shutting down of the government. Included in the shutting down of the government will be the funding for the State Department and Homeland Security. It is clear that we're at a constitutional crisis, one that requires the attentiveness of this body, and to recognize that the leaving and retiring of General Mathis, who's indicated maybe you can have a Secretary of Defense that fits your thinking. What thinking? And then to hear from North Korea, maybe you can remove the troops off of our border.
Gentlelady's time has expired.
This is a time for us to speak up, to protect the American people, and not a time to shut the government down. I hope the President is listening. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Maine seek recognition?
I ask for unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, during this joyful time of year, I'd like to give thanks for the improving health of my great state of Maine. Because we've cut taxes and regulations, our small businesses are growing and hiring more workers and paying them more. Maine's 2.7% unemployment is the lowest rate in 50 years. We're rebuilding our military to keep our families safe while supporting 6,000 shipbuilders at Bath Iron Works. We passed legislation that guts online human trafficking, which protects our daughters and our sons. And we've made the biggest financial commitment ever to combat the opioid epidemic, giving thousands of struggling Mainers hope for recovery and better lives. Child poverty in Maine is dropping while education is closer to home where it belongs. We've strengthened Social Security and Medicare so our seniors have more peace of mind. And our veterans, our beloved veterans, are now able to receive their health care closer to home, and our small hospitals that provide those services must get paid on time, otherwise interest accrues on the outstanding bills. And Maine's pristine natural environment is living up to our brand, vacation land, the way life should be. Mr. Speaker, Maine families are doing better and better, and I am grateful to have the opportunity to help. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all, and may God always bless the United States of America and our great state of Maine. I yield back.
What purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey seek recognition? The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to celebrate the students, faculty, staff, and friends of Linden, New Jersey public schools for spreading holiday cheer while helping those in need. Each year, members of the Linden Public Schools load into buses with Santa Claus and travel through their town to sing carols and collect donations for a charity gift drive. Staff and students put their hearts into planning the event, which they call Caroling for a Cause. This year, they collected more than 1,000 gifts from across the community. Those gifts will help bring smiles to the faces of more than 300 children. Mr. Speaker, this is a season of giving, and the Linden Public Schools are leading by example. I want to thank the students, faculty, and staff who participated, and I applaud Superintendent Danny Robertosi for supporting Caroling for a Cause. I ask my colleagues to join me in recognizing everyone who participated. They are helping make sure their friends and their neighbors indeed have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And with that, I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to commend our Republican leadership for today for listening to our conference and putting back into the continuing resolution the needed disaster relief for the southern states and for the West Coast, and the border security measure demanded by most Americans in this country. To not do so, to just accept the product that the Senate punted over here, would have been a travesty and a dereliction of our duties here, I think, in the U.S. House. These are very important things that need to be done, need to be accomplished with the caravan amassing on our southern border and the security measures that, although heroically done so far by our Border Patrol folks, they need to have augmented with this asset. And heaven knows, our southern states having affected by hurricanes, farmers depending on decisions to be made in this place, and on the West Coast with the fires in my own district, the stability needed from the funding that would come from a disaster relief package. I'm really pleased to see the work of the House today to put this back out there, send it over to the Senate, where I hope they will have the guts to actually deal with it. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 3rd, 2017, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Al Green, is recognized for half the time until 10 p.m. as the designee of the Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd also like to thank the leadership on both sides of the aisle for extending this opportunity for us to speak tonight. This is an important issue for all Americans. We rise tonight on behalf of Mr. Michael Wynn, an American citizen. Mr. Michael Wynn, an American citizen who was on a mission of mercy to Vietnam and who is being detained in Vietnam. I would ask that persons please not allow the last name Wynn to cause you to think anything other than the fact that he is an American citizen who makes America the beautiful, a more beautiful America. He was on a mission of mercy. He is being detained. Being detained without the benefit of bail, something that we routinely expect to be the case in this country. Being detained without the benefit of a lawyer, something that we are all entitled to under the Constitution in this country when charged with criminal offenses. Being detained without the benefit of a speedy trial, something that we take for granted. Being detained in Vietnam, Mr. Speaker, this is something that every American ought to be concerned about when we have one of our own being detained without the benefit of bail, without the benefit of a lawyer, without the benefit of a speedy trial. Mr. Wynn is a resident of California's 45th district. And Mr. Wynn is being represented by Ms. Walters. Ms. Walters is here tonight. I know that she has been engaged and involved in doing what she can to help extricate Mr. Wynn from his circumstance. So I will yield at this time to Ms. Walters, California's 45th. Ms. Walters.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to demand the Vietnamese government immediately release Michael Wynn, an American citizen and Orange County resident who has been unjustly detained for over 5 months. Michael is a loving husband and father of 4, a small business owner and an active member of his community and church. He has no criminal record in the United States. This summer, while visiting elderly relatives, Michael was arrested by the Vietnamese government. He is under investigation for allegedly violating Article 109 of the Vietnamese Criminal Code, Activities Against the Government. Article 109 is an arbitrary and vague charge the Vietnamese government often uses to justify baseless arrests. Michael could be held for months without formal charges as the Vietnamese government investigates. Despite repeated requests by my office, the Vietnamese have yet to produce any evidence substantiating Michael's arrest. These unjust actions are further exasperated by the Vietnamese government denying Michael's family's request to visit him while in prison. During the investigation, the Vietnamese government only permits monthly visits by the U.S. State Department. These visits are the only opportunity Michael has to hear messages from his loved ones. Mr. Speaker, Michael's family has been devastated by this ordeal. I had the opportunity to meet with them again just this last week when I was back in Orange County, and I'm here tonight on their behalf to echo their calls for his safe return. The Vietnamese government has not only denied an innocent man his freedom, it has completely disrupted the lives of a loving wife, 4 young daughters, and countless friends and family members across the country who are praying for Michael's homecoming every single day. Michael's wife, Helen, is a nurse who works long hours with many emergency on-call days. During Michael's absence, she has been a single mother to their 4 young daughters. The girls miss their father dearly. His detainment has made it difficult for them to focus on their schoolwork and their extracurricular activities. These girls should not have to spend one more sleepless night worried about their father's safety. Their entire family has demonstrated incredible strength during this ordeal. I am constantly inspired by their love and devotion to Michael.